My guest today is the manager of the San Francisco Giants. He was drafted by the Detroit Tigers in the 1995 MLB draft and played in the majors for, get this, 15 years. And of course, in 2004, he won the World Series with the Boston Red Sox. It's my absolute honor to welcome to Jake's Takes Giants manager Gabe Kapler. What's up, Manager Kapler? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jake. I really appreciate your persistence and your dedication to your craft. It means a lot.
Man, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, though, also for joining my show, especially mid-season, and for being so nice to me at the ballpark here in Toronto. Thank you.
No, you earned that, man. You just have a great way about you, and like I said, incredibly persistent, which is such an important trait. Getting what you want, so much respect.
And also, it's even more impressive is the fact that it's a clear sign of how great of a person you are. This is the All-Star break, man. It's your vacation. You're doing this. Thank you.
I
That's awesome.
appreciate it. No, I was actually just watching the All-Star game. One of the reasons I was late, and thanks for being gracious about that and patient, was I was watching Camilo Duvall pitch, and I didn't want to miss that moment. And he pitched well. He threw a lot of strikes and threw really hard. It was cool.
Oh yeah, you watched the Derby though, right?
I watched bits and pieces of the Derby. I took most of yesterday, just kind of decompress, not do a whole lot of anything. And I spent more of today kind of catching back up on baseball stuff. So I've been watching all of the game. And, once we hop off, I'll get back to it and catch the end.
I'm a Jays fan, so I'm very excited about Vladdy winning that. Hopefully that can
No,
get
of
him
course
on.
you are.
He had a rough first half of the season, home run wise, but hopefully that can get him back in it. But I just recently had Jaron Duran of the Red Sox on my show, and he,
Cool.
he told me that he actually likes the Derby better, old school way, old style, when they had the outs and not times. What do you think? You like the time better or the outs?
I'll be honest with you, Jake. I haven't watched very many home run derbies. Most of the time, I try to go from the kind of my off time to the actual game. I love the derby and I love all the entertainment about it. But like really analyzing the rules, old school rules, new school rules, I kind of think the timing mechanism is interesting. Who was it? Polar Bear, right? There's Alonzo was talking about how it's an endurance thing now, right? Because you're swinging hard, you're swinging fast, taking so many swings, and your body gets broken down. You get a little fatigued, and he called that out. I think it adds an interesting element to it. I can't say that I like one way better.
By the way, speaking about old school, I'm not sure you saw this yet, but do you see what Barry Bonds said about hitting in today's game? That it's easier than when you guys played. He said that now every bullpen is about throwing heat, and how and I quote, nobody gets hit, nobody gets knocked down. I can go up if I can go up there to the plate, swing a baseball bat, flip it into the stands, high five everybody, not get my head taken off. I'm gonna hit a home run every single time. Do you agree with Barry on this?
Well, this is how Barry and I are wildly different. Like he was one of the greatest players that ever lived. So I kind of trust him if he thinks he could go out there and do his thing. I was just kind of an average player, and I would get my ass handed to me by today's pitchers. These guys are the best in the world. They have the nastiest stuff. Their shapes are bigger. They're more explosive. Um, they're more deceptive. It feels like a more challenging game for me. But Barry's, one of the greatest of all time. He may have been able to do his thing.
So we'll trust Barry on the fact that if you give him a challenge, he's gonna hit over home run every time. Okay, Barry.
Well, I think we trust. I think we can trust Barry in that. Like he's just otherworldly gifted, otherworldly talented. So, yeah, I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, for sure. I don't understand it personally because I didn't watch him growing up or whatever, but my dad, all he talks about, don't mess with Barry, don't mess with Barry. I
Yeah,
get it.
you could compare him to like some of the hitters that are most feared today, and maybe at the time you could say he was even more feared. Our paths crossed a little bit. It was more toward the beginning of my career was starting to get more towards the end of his, but I think I saw him in his prime and at the best he's ever been, and it was spectacular. There was nobody even close.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about your Giants now. You just had a really impressive first half, sitting third in the NL West with a 49-41 record. And I don't think people really expected your team to be this good this fast. What impressed you the most about your team?
We had a tough April, Jake. It was a challenge. We didn't get off to our best start. We had some really tough travel to contend with. We had some early season injuries, and so we didn't get out of the gates good. So I think what's most impressive with our group is the resilience. The players are tough. They understand that there's an ebb and flow to the season, and you can go a month, you can go 2 months, and not play your best baseball. It doesn't define you as a team. That's why baseball is sort of described as a marathon and not a sprint, because you're playing 162, you're playing 30 games or so in spring training. You've got the postseason, and before you know it, you're around that 200 game mark. So you really have to stay even, not too high or too low. And when you go through tough times like we did in April, you just can't get bent out of shape. Now on the flip side, when you're playing really good baseball, we went through a 10-game winning streak. Can't get too high either. You know that you're not going to win every baseball game, so there has to be a little bit of measurement on your evaluation of yourselves, and I think we're doing a fine job at that.
100%. If you look at some of the great teams in the past couple of years, and I want to look at the Rays this year, they started off so well, and everyone's like, "Holy cow, AL East is gone. No one's even close." And everyone thought for sure they'd be the best team in the league. Couple months go by, boom, Atlanta Braves #1. Like, it's honestly amazing. And I don't want to say they're playing bad baseball, but just nothing near like they were playing in the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
I completely know what you're saying, and I agree with you that if you look at the game in just a stretch, you don't evaluate well. So you're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays. They're a phenomenal team. It would not shock me to see them go deep into the postseason. But you're never going to be the team you are at your best all the way through the season. In the same way, if you're a hitter, you could go through a month and be hitting 400, 420. The likelihood is that you're not going to maintain that pace.
Unless your name is Luis Arias.
Maybe. He looked amazing even in this AllStar game. He squared 2 baseballs up, and yeah, I was joking. He looks kind of Tony Gwynnish. He's just he's so focused on his zone. He's so aggressive. He's got such great contact skills. But most players, when they're going through their best stretches, it's probably not sustainable, right? So just kind of being measured and open-minded about how the season might change is probably a good strategy.
100%. Anyway, I really want to ask you this question. So last week I had Braves manager Snicker on my show. We talked about how well their catchers are performing, especially Sean Murphy. But what's so impressive about your team is you're using 2 rookie catchers. Yeah, you heard me right. 2 rookie catchers. No teams ever do that. Both Patrick Bailey and Blake Sable have been amazing. How good have these guys been?
Pat, in particular, has just been a phenomenal defensive catcher for us. He's just been so solid back there. He's done a really nice job of working with our pitching staff. He's been a great framer. His throwing has been sensational. Good pop times, good release times, good accurate throws. So just an all-around game behind the plate. Pat has been awesome. Blake has really grown behind the plate, and he's getting better. He's done a nice job in the outfield as well, and he's really swung the bat well. Against right-handed pitching, he's posted north of an 800 OPS. That's a pretty significant accomplishment for a Rule 5 rookie, and he's really made a name for himself. We're lucky to have him. I love both of those guys.
Just a random question. Who do you think's been the best rookie this year? It's got to be Ellie De La Cruz, am I right?
It's pretty early in his tenure, right? Like, I feel like he's been up for maybe a month or so, if that. How long has he been up in the big leagues?
Right, I'm something like that, but yeah, you gotta just say him, no, just what he's done since he's coming up. He's been so good and like taking over. Cincinnati has become must-watch TV. Cincinnati.
I agree that he's one of the more exciting players in baseball, and I wouldn't argue because I haven't really looked closely at his stats. But I say everything that I've seen, he looks like a phenomenal young player. I'm excited to see him develop.
Oh yeah. Anyway, earlier you mentioned Camilo Duvall. And he's been a huge story for you guys. He's an all-star for the first time, leads the MLB with 26 saves at the age of 26. His numbers are nuts, posting a 2.63 ERA 1.05 whip. Does he have some of the best stuff in baseball or what?
He's got 3+ pitches. He's got the 4-seam cutter that he throws at 100 miles an hour. He's got a sinker that travels about the same speed and moves a ton. And then he's got a nasty slider, wipeout slider. So he's also got the slowest heartbeat of any closer I've ever been around. The game is very, very, it's calm. It's a calm approach. When he comes into the biggest situations against the toughest hitters, it's just a nice, easy, slow heartbeat. And I think that gives him an opportunity to be good for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm as I said earlier, I'm a Jays fan, and that's terrible. Did you see what happened to Jordan Romano?
I did see that. I don't know what the injury was, but obviously I wish him the best.
Yeah, I know. I don't either, but like, I'm just, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so in 2014, you became the director of player development for the Dodgers, and I read that you had all the farm teams switch to organic foods. Just saying, since then, the Dodgers have had like the most successful farm system ever. Guys like Walker Buehler, Corey Seager, Jock Peterson, all these guys have gone through it, and many, many more. How much of an effect do you think you've had on all these guys I mentioned?
Very small one. I mean, the impact comes from an organization, and it comes from the players' work ethic themselves. So between the great executives the Dodgers have at the highest level, to all the guys working in the farm system who are sensational, they just do a really nice job of developing players. So I would say very small impact. But what I will say is that player development is a collaborative thing, and it comes from all of the coaches in a minor league system. But the most important thing is how much effort and work a player puts in to get to the highest level and succeed at the highest level. And all of the players that you mentioned did all the work. They deserve all the credit.
Last question, Manager Kapler. So my Jays are in the AL East, and I always complain about how annoying it is that we're stuck in such an amazing division. But your division, the NL West, it isn't that bad either. It's shaping up to be pretty darn good. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks are good. The Padres, yeah, they've been struggling, but with their talent, they can always turn it around. And your team has been absolutely phenomenal. How would you compare the NL West to the AL East?
Both great divisions. I'd probably throw the National League East in there as well. Between the Phillies and the Marlins are kind of doing their thing a little bit, and the Braves, as you mentioned. The Mets are a sleeping giant. It's a team that has a tremendous amount of talent, sort of like the Padres, right? Two teams that haven't been playing their best baseball, but have endless amounts of talent. So those three divisions are awesome, and there are other great divisions around the game. I think you're right. Our division is especially tough, and the American League East has been tough for as long as I can remember. When I was your age, I was a Jays fan as well. I grew up watching McGriff, and probably even a little bit before that, like my early childhood, George Bell, Lloyd Mosby, and Jimmy Key, Dave Steve, that whole crew. And at that point, you're always contending with some of the best teams in baseball as well in the American League East, right? The Yankees and the Red Sox are always there. The Orioles are young and tearing it up. So yeah, it's good baseball across the board.
Thank you so much, Manager Kapler, for taking your time and joining me today on Jake's Take. Did you have fun?
Loved it, man. You're killing it. I'm so happy for you, and I look forward to watching your career develop.
Thank you so much.